Canada's inflation rate has increased to 4%. Surprise, surprise. So the sub-headline here is that grocery prices increased at a 6.9% annual pace. So grocery prices are almost double the overall inflation rate. And it says here in the first paragraph from this CBC News article that Canada's inflation rate jumped higher last month to an annual pace of 4%, mostly because of an increase in gasoline prices. So if you're not aware, the Liberal government has imposed what's called a carbon tax onto Canadians indiscriminately. And as a result of those continuingly increasing carbon tax implementations, the price of food and basically everything else, but especially food, has skyrocketed, adding to the already existing cost of living crisis. And as mentioned, this already present inflationary period the Canadians are expecting. The article goes on to say that prices at the pump increased by 4% in August alone and are up by 0.08% compared to where they were a year ago. And a year ago, it was expensive as it was. I think a lot of Canadians are currently really grappling with the cost of gas and electricity and well, obviously food. But I also think that many Canadians are really nervous heading into the winter when we rely on fossil fuels to heat our homes and quite literally stay warm. Alexa, what do you think about the cost of living, the cost of groceries, the carbon tax?
Seriously, I remember the time where I was paying my bread $1. Now it's $6, sometimes $7 for just a loaf. But the thing is, they are increasing the carbon tax. And now they are threatening grocery stores to put a tax on them if they are not cooperating on lowering the price of the food. But yes, there is a part of the profit that the grocery store are making, but one of the biggest problem right now, since the inflation and the cost of living crisis, it's because they are just putting tax on taxes and the taxes. And so at the end of the day, the problem is actually coming from the Liberals cabinet government that failed to really manage the finance. And now they are threatening the grocery store with another taxes because they put the blame on them when the blame should be on the Liberals.
Of course, it seems to be a typical Liberal deflection tactic, is to blame everybody else instead of having the introspection to self-reflect. And we have a clip here to share with you of our Deputy Prime Minister, also the Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, where she's announcing that the country will, tax the grocery stores. Let's have a look.
As the Prime Minister announced just on Thursday, our government expects our country's largest grocers to take a Team Canada approach and do their part to get prices down and keep them down.
A Team Canada, that remember me not like something like socialism or communism, like when you say, now you will work for the country and you will put all the same as we tell you to do. No, isn't it? What I can feel like it's not Canada that we used to know. When we see that our government is speaking like that to some of the company here in the country.
Well, and when will the Liberals take a Team Canada approach and cut their carbon tax? They know that Canadians are struggling in this inflationary period with a cost of living crisis, with a housing crisis. Why aren't they taking this alleged Team Canada approach and simply cutting their carbon tax? That would be a quick, easy fix and save a lot of Canadians grief, both on their immediate bills, but also through that, what I like to call the ricochet effect, where because of the carbon tax on retailers, their prices have gone up. And yeah, I'm sure that there's greed and profits involved there. like any business model, but I'm not sure that the government meddling in that and threatening more tax is really going to save the consumers anything.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
And we have another clip too from the same Chrystia Freeland at the same event, the Socialist Summit, as it was coined, where she says that Canada's record high immigration that's directly causing that housing crisis I've mentioned is part of, so cringy, Canada's secret sauce, apparently.
We're delivering on a particularly Canadian pillar of our country's long-term prosperity: immigration. At a moment when an aging population is one of the greatest challenges facing the developed Western world, when our economies are all desperate for skilled workers, Canada's unique enthusiasm for welcoming new Canadians not only makes our communities more vibrant, it is also an international economic competitive advantage. And sorry to the non-Canadians who are here, this is part of Canada's secret sauce economically.
Oh my goodness. It's not really a secret that these outrageous and unprecedented immigration targets are completely unsustainable, and there is quite simply not the infrastructure in place to support it. We are seeing seasoned immigrants who have skill sets and education and a professional rapport to back them, and then they come into the country and they cannot easily assimilate into that profession because of government red tape and roadblocks. And so that aside from the housing crisis, where we do not have the capacity to house everybody, you're seeing seasoned, skilled immigrants come into the country, end up on the streets, homeless, having to go to church basements to simply find a place to sleep, to eat. There is not the infrastructure in place to house everybody, and it's 1.5 million immigrants. That's the target by 2025. So over the next 2.5, 3 years from when that was originally announced, we're expected to come up with 1.5 million houses, roughly, and that's only legal immigrants. That does not count the influx of illegal aliens coming into the country through illegal border crossings like Roxham Road, which you've reported on extensively, Alexa. And over half of those immigrants end up coming to Ontario, and specifically the Greater Toronto Area. And we have Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who's under fire for wanting to develop the Greenbelt, which is where that housing infrastructure, the public transit lines, that all exists currently within the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. And he's under fire for wanting to develop some of the lush farm and greenlands, which, I mean, I see that side of things, but I also see the fact that where else are we going to house everyone? This just seems like a disaster from all levels of government, but primarily the federal government, who's opened the floodgates with no real tangible plan on how this is actually going to unfold on the ground.
But their secret sauce, I would say that it's mostly destroying Canada, destroying our reputation, especially when you think that people from outsider are looking at Canada with like our immigrants sleeping in the street. Mm-hmm. Like during there is rain, they need to try to find themselves like some food. They have like actually no help at all when you look like at Toronto. And that's supposed to be our secret sauce, and she's proud of that. I would say that this is actually a really, really bad move from her to have said that.
Yeah, I mean, what else is new with Chrystia Freeland? But also there is an issue with the aging population, right? We have all the baby boomers, and I agree, they are aging out. They will need to have sustained senior care. But I don't know that the be-all end-all is just immigration. I remember back in the fall of 2020, and I'm having a hard time finding a photo of it, but there was a Vancouver advertising campaign that essentially urged and called on parents to have fewer children. And so when you see the birth rate at an all-time low in this country, and you know that you have an aging population that you're going to need population growth to continue to sustain, then why are we putting out ad campaigns telling people to have fewer children? And then and likewise, why is the government making it so difficult for Canadians of those childbearing ages to get ahead, to start a family? I mean, it has never looked less lucrative to own a home in this day and age. It's never looked less lucrative to work full time. You could sit around and get government handouts probably for more than you would make working a full-time job.
Hey folks, that was a clip from the daily live stream. I co-host it Monday to Thursday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Alberta team takes over on Friday. Please tune in. And by the way, we want to hear your 2 cents worth. If you're able to make a minimal $5 donation, we will read your chat on the air live. Thank you.
Canadians are grappling with news blackouts on social media due to the Justin Trudeau Liberal government's Bill C-18. This new piece of legislation demands that social media platforms pay the government for news shared by users, which is an inconceivable task for companies like Meta and Google. So, as a result, they have decided to preemptively block all Canadian news content, including ours at Rebel News. In response to this, we have since teamed up with VPN provider Private Internet Access to ensure that you can continue to access all of our content across a broad range of platforms while also maintaining your privacy. For only $2 a month, you can bypass Trudeau's new censorship laws while you safeguard freedom of speech and continue to get the news that matters to you the most. Visit piavpn.com/rebelnews to take advantage of the 84% discount and 4 months free. As a bonus, PIA has all of its servers located in the United States, not China, and they automatically delete user data from their servers to avoid leaks and government subpoenas for information phishing expeditions. Don't delay. Head over to piavpn.com/rebelnews to stay up to date on the news in Canada and protect your access to it. Don't delay. You don't want to be left behind.